Welcome to The Connection Code, a podcast where we explore the relationships that make your life and work just a little bit better.
Hi, I'm Rachel Gilman-Rischel. I run a PR firm called 3PR, focused on healthy food brands, and I also love introducing people that I think should know each other.
And I'm Gina Anderson-Cohen. I started a health and wellness media company called A Sweat Life that tricks adults into making friends through fitness. And I'm also building a boutique hotel and event space in New Buffalo, Michigan called Petite Acres. I love friendship gathering and events.
Gina, we have an extra special guest today, and
They're
the
all
question
special.
is inspired. They're all special.
They're
you know
all
what? You're right. They're all special.
They're all so special. Every guest is extra special.
Every guest is so special. This has just been on my radar. Our guest is Sara Haines, a co-host on The View, and I have admired her from afar for so many years that it just feels extra special that we finally made contact because I wanted to talk to her for all this time.
And we're best friends now.
I feel deeply attached.
Mm-hmm.
But she does this thing that we'll talk about in the interview where she has an Instagram video series that kicks off with, I don't know who needs to hear this right now. And then she goes into something topical or emotional or significant, and it feels very relatable. I like to think that she's the internet support system. So I thought we could each share something that we think people need to know right now. So what is that for you?
Oh, I love this. Well, Rachel, I don't know who needs to hear this, but your makeup is not your sunscreen. We are entering the high.
Gina.
Yeah, yes. I am deeply pale, and I do see a dermatologist for my mole checks regularly. I'm due, but also all skin types, melanated or not, need sunscreen to protect against skin cancer. So this is the time of year where we could talk about some lovely sunscreens we could add under our makeup or to our routine without makeup. I have two examples that I can share. One is available. By the way, did you know that Ulta has pop-ups at Target now, Rachel? Were you aware of that?
Yes, because I have
certain Targets. Yeah, yes. Of course. So you can find some like lovely, wonderful beauty brands and clean beauty brands at Target, including Tula Skincare. They have an SPF 50 clear sunscreen stick. I love it under makeup. It gives you a dewy look. That's number one. The second one is Daybird. It actually is a 3-in-1. So it's a foundation, a moisturizer, and a sunscreen. So you can put it under your makeup, or you could actually have it be your tinted sunscreen and makeup.
I'm only laughing, not because this isn't great information, but I just didn't know we were getting a beauty rec. So
yes,
it's
more like a keep your skin forever.
Yes,
or as long as you're in your body.
Going down a different but no less significant route.
Of course.
I would say, I don't know who needs to hear this, but if you have been debating making the time to see an old friend, do it. Mm-hmm. And I say this because I was able and very fortunate recently to do 2 weekends with old friends. I'm talking somebody I've known for almost 30 years and somebody I've known over 30 years. And I know life gets hectic and it's busy and there's finances involved and childcare and all the stuff. But there is nothing more restorative to me than spending time with a friend who has seen you through all seasons of life, where you can talk endlessly, where you can be in the surface, you can be in the deep. There's just this beauty of an old friend who really knows you inside and out. And I think if you've been wrestling with, should we plan that trip? Should we make the time? Should we get together? Life's so busy. This is my encouragement to say you absolutely should.
See your friend.
See the friend.
You had some great trips too recently.
I have been on so many trips that I counted. I think I took 7 trips in 3 weeks, but some were for work.
That's a lot.
Yes, and then I got sick.
You're racking. Well, that does tend to happen, but I think it was worth it.
It was so worth it. I went to Minnesota twice. I went to New York for work. I went to Austin for work. I saw a friend in Austin. I went to Sedona. I went to Bentonville, Arkansas, which, by the way, is unexpectedly amazing. And I am going to share it as widely as possible because I thought it was Pleasantville.
Yeah. Well, as you know, Rachel, I spent a lot of my childhood in that region of the world. Every summer, I was in Arkansas for weeks and weeks. My grandparents lived in Rogers, right next to Bentonville. The Ozarks are insane. The Lake of the Ozarks is lovely. And there are, to validate your experience, really lovely trails and parks. And it's been built up even more over the past couple decades too, since my grandparents left.
Yeah, I'll get off my high horse about it, but the last thing I'll say, it was an incredible art museum and it's free.
Yeah. Eureka Springs, if you're ever able to get there, lovely.
We have a whole Bentonville sci-fi.
Yeah.
Okay, so switching gears. So we have this incredibly special guest today, Sara Haines, and she just projects empathy and humor and relatability. It's like a beacon for people. And I felt really honored that she made this time for us today. She is, as I said earlier, a co-host of ABC's Emmy award-winning daytime talk show, The View, and also a correspondent on the ABC hidden camera show, What Would You Do? And she's a mom of 3 kids with a phenomenal Instagram account. You should look her up at Sara Haines, where she shares not Instagram fiction, but I think all of the real behind the scenes living that actually is so much more relatable. So here we are with Sara.
Our new best friend.
Sara, thank you so much for being here. Obviously, I'm obsessed with you already and have been wanting to talk to you for years.
Thank you so much for having me. I was excited to get the invite. I was determined to get this on my calendar because I've heard about you.
Thank you. So I always like, because it's a connection podcast, to credit the person that made the connection possible. So in this case, it's Julia King/Fishman, who is the loveliest. I know. And so I just want to say thank you, Julia. And we could just basically kvel about her for a second.
Oh, I love her. I was the officiant for her wedding.
Oh.
And so I deep dove. I felt so honored to carry such an intimate role. And I'm not joking, the heart and soul I put into that, because she and her husband are like the most perfect for each other couple I've ever met. So that's an even better assignment when you know it's one of those marriages that will last.
Yes.
And I even learned a little Hebrew.
Oh, wow.
For a second. I've forgotten it since then. But she said, you don't have to do any of that. And I said, this is such a religious moment, like when you feel such powerful love, that I'd be doing a disservice not to be a proper rabbi and learn a little bit. And
Sara, Hebrew is very hard. I am extra impressed with you.
Yeah.
Well, no, what's cute is when I went to say my lines, that was the one time I was really nervous. And all of a sudden, all her friends chime in to help me out. And so I felt like so carried through my nervous moment. But Julia was like, what? Like, she couldn't believe I had learned it. So it was really special.
If Jewish people do anything well, it's talk and jump in. So I'm not surprised they tried to carry you.
I fit right in the group, and 2 they saved me.
Oh, yes. Julia. So Julia, thank you. And Sara, thank you. So I wanted to kind of set the stage to get started. I think if you are a co-host of a daily talk show, you're basically a professional connector. And I'm very curious how you ended up in this role. And why were you drawn to a field that's really predicated on connection, conversation, and questions?
Well, I would say the quick answer to why I was drawn to a field like this is I am naturally and deeply curious. I believe, like, I'm fascinated by, you don't have to be a celebrity. It could be the woman in front of me at a store, someone you get, I just ran into a woman actually at one of my kids' games who's like, do you remember we met and we bonded over star signs about a year ago? And then
what is your sign?
I'm a Virgo. She was a Libra. And so right when she said the star signs, I was like, oh my gosh. And I thought, we really talked a lot. We had covered birth order, why we are the way we are. And I was like, how did that come up? She goes, we were waiting for them to let us in at the soccer field. And she goes, I told my husband later, and he thought I was a freak. I was like, well, clearly husbands know us and what we're in for. But we had this amazingly profound conversation, and it was just because we were standing there. And so it doesn't matter where you are, who you are. I am a deeply curious person. I kind of was drawn to TV and unscripted television specifically because I loved the aspect and adrenaline of public speaking. I loved having to explain why I felt or thought a certain thing. I loved having to do that work before I go out there, because it really forces you on every level outside of work to really come to terms with your own inner voice, what you think, sometimes turning that volume up on what you believe in and maybe are scared to say. And so overall, it became like a social experiment that has served me in life well.
When you started talking, I knew I needed to know what your sign was. So I'm glad we now know that you're a Virgo.
I'm a strong, hard, typical Virgo.
And I'm curious with the view because part of the job is discussion and disagreement, which comes with its own really unique emotional skill set. So I'm curious what you've learned about maintaining and building relationships when disagreement's involved.
Okay. It's funny when it comes to professional life, I think it's much easier to deal with people who disagree with you. Because it's almost like you're the better angels show up. It's the way I was raised. It's how I speak. I'm so much more productive at work than I am with my husband or my children.
Same.
So it's not like
Yeah.
I'm still and then I go home. Like I'm a hot mess when it comes to emotional intimacy and issues. But professionally, I want to understand someone else. And therefore, I often speak in a way that hopefully makes people understand me. And so it becomes a ping pong type of thing. I also think the people that cross my path professionally are people I admire and respect. And when you admire and respect people, you also come to find the more productive words. And honestly, coming from Iowa and a big family to go to school at Smith, super liberal, diverse, to then live in New York City, it was all a training ground for just how different every single person is you're going to meet. There's really no homogenous group in any of these spots. It's just diversity. So you get very used to flexing that muscle.
Yes. It is much harder in your personal life, though. I want to just acknowledge that too. I feel like I can have a client conversation and be so buttoned up, and then I get into it with my 11-year-old, and I'm like, where did those skills go?
Well, people will say sometimes, oh, you deal with such heated situations. And I'm like, oh, work? That's easy. Ask me to get 2 minutes in with my husband. And he's like, why don't you talk to me like everyone else in your life? I'm like, clearly the wounds are deep. It's why I go to therapy. It just hasn't kicked in yet. But
Wait, Sara, I'm happy you said therapy because I have this working theory that you're like the internet's therapist, like this beautiful support system for feelings. And I know you're most known for your day job, but for me, it's your Instagram videos. It's where you stare deeply into the camera and you say, I don't know who needs to hear this right now. It's me. I always need to hear it. And you dive into something that's really emotional and topical and challenging. And it feels like this connective tissue between you and the viewer of, I had this epiphany because I had to climb this mountain. And I wanted to understand what inspired you to make these videos. And then I want to talk about the ripple effect, because if I feel this way, I have to be one of hundreds of thousands.
One, I appreciate that you enjoy those and consume those. A lot of how I got there goes back to Julia, because you don't ever think what you're doing or saying outside of your intimate life, is especially social media. It's so personal that I just don't come from that place where I'm like, oh, this will be great. But my friends had always said, you should have been a therapist. You're the best. I come to you whenever I need advice. And I think it was Julia who once said, you really should share that with more than just the people that are lucky enough to be around you. And I was like, gosh, I never thought of it. I have always heard I'm good with advice, but it's because, again, it always comes from so much work I'm working on, deep empathy, also letting people feel seen. Because I've had struggles in my past. Some of the most traumatic were a lot of postpartum. Mm-hmm. And what I've found, especially at this job, is every time I spoke about something hard, it wasn't a selfless act. And it's really important to say that. It wasn't about everyone else. It was actually very selfish. When I've spoken about things I struggle with, someone else says me too. Mm-hmm. And then I'm not alone. Because so much of what we struggle with often has that air of shame around it. No matter what it is, your marriage, your kids, the way you are as a human, the way your body, whatever it is, we kind of decorate it with shame and then tuck it away and hide it. Mm-hmm. Whenever I've spoken about these things and I've felt seen, the feeling I get from people brave enough to just write me and say, oh my God, I went through that too. It's like I'm putting out a call and then the community I need shows up for whatever that issue is. And it's different people, different faces, but I'm never alone in it.
Yes.
So when I share a lot of the battles, and it often comes from something sparked in a sermon at church or my therapist or one of those friend sessions, it's my way of putting out there, hopefully, hey, you're not alone. Like from the outside, you probably didn't know I was obsessing about this thing, but it's important, there's a lot underneath that, and life doesn't always look like what you think, because we all project that everyone else is okay and their lives are okay, and it's really our own problems that are being projected. And so I like to break that wall down and say, please, God, tell me I'm not the only one thinking about this.
Yes.
And so it's really been fulfilling for me. So I'm glad it's landed, but it has been a great moment of support for me.
I think that's, yeah. And I think that's really the magic of having conversations, of doing what you do at The View and the other media you're creating, is that you're reminding people that we're not so alone. Because there's this tendency to feel like I'm the only one going through this. And when we're not talking to people, we can feel that way too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I want to pivot a little bit, not far, because I really like where we're going, but I want to talk a little bit about the show, What Would You Do?
Yes.
You can see some of people's unknowing reactions to these insane situations, and you could see the best of people or the worst of people. So I'm curious, what have you learned about human nature on that show?
So way before I became a part of the show, I was a fan. And I was a fan because I thought, oh my God, what would they do? Like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
And once you start watching that show, you end when the show ends. Like you can't walk away from it. Being a part of it has been amazing, because what you realize is those kind of angels are few and far in between, and they make all the wait time worth it. Because every time they show up, and John told me this, but I didn't quite believe him, it's never the predicted person you think. And it's almost like the universe reminding you, no, you still haven't figured it all out. Because it ends up being like, there was this situation in an Iowa diner where this woman the actor was having a conversation about how she couldn't afford the birthday lunch for her kids. We weren't getting any movement on this. And the louder they got, nothing's happening. And you're sitting behind and you're kind of getting a little numb. And all of a sudden someone goes, no, there's a guy where we don't have cameras. He's paying for it. Now, during that part, the people that had been sitting there were two men playing cards. We come to find out they were doing magic tricks. One was a magician and one was training him. The guy was like 19. And there were people all over that I thought, oh, this is going to be the one. This is going to be the one. This guy ends up admitting he did it because he knew how it felt when you couldn't afford something, that he had left. And they say, oh, you can come. The line that got him was, he said, when the waitress, also an actor, said, you can come back tomorrow. He said, because I've been the guy that was supposed to come back tomorrow, not knowing all night long how I was even going to make it work the next day. And didn't have a lot of money, and he offered to pay for this woman and her two children. And the beauty in that moment, like chills, like all over my body watching this, and the high you get from watching people love strangers just reinstills every faith you have in human nature, in goodness, in strangers, that the people that might save you, you may never know. It's just the most beautiful show. And I am honored to be a part of it.
Sara, this is making me want to know more about your childhood. Like, who were you as you grew up? What is this family environment? I feel like you radiate empathy, and often that sometimes it's intrinsic, but sometimes it's a learned behavior.
I feel like my whole family's like this. I don't know. I'm the third of four kids. I have two older sisters and a younger brother. Grew up in Iowa, pretty regular family in a small town. I like to credit my best character traits to my parents, because even when I met my husband on a dating profile, and I remember writing and thinking of my dad. I said, I'm looking for a man who does the right thing when no one's watching, because that's my dad. Like, he's the type that, like, I remember one time there was this whole scenario about human nature in a government class, and it was about, if there was a four-way stop in the middle of a rural area and there's no cars around, do you stop? And I kept thinking, of course you stop. It's a stop sign. Like,
Yes.
you stop. One by one, the class is like, you don't have to. No one's there. No one's looking. I was like, but we stop. We always stop. That's a stop sign, you know? And I thought, that's so my dad. You know, that is my dad. And my mom was someone that came from little. Like they met in the military because my dad enlisted for Vietnam, and my mom joined the military because she was so poor. She thought I'd never travel if I didn't do something like the military. So they met in the Air Force because of that. They come from very different worlds. And my mom has never stopped being that person that, you know, she had 4 kids. She was a nurse and she worked on and off throughout her childhood. My dad had a big job. So she was also that wife that would entertain and do, and she still found time to pour over volunteering. I remember when she found ways to get old medical equipment, because she's a nurse, out of these hospitals in the US that will throw them away. But there were young kids in Ukraine and hospitals that what we consider trash would be a treasure. So I remember showing up and asking her for money to go get lunch. And she's the last volunteer, like scrubbing the equipment because they got a flight donated. She was always pouring herself into everybody. And there was something so beautiful and selfless about it that I kind of think you can't help but be that way when you've been raised like that.
I saw your Mother's Day post, and what a beautiful tribute to your mom. I was awash in feelings yesterday over Mother's Day content.
Yes. I was a mixed review, but that's a separate. But yes, that was important for me to know how many people struggle to be moms who have lost children, mothers who have lost children, mothers who have lost mothers, mothers who have distant relationships, and vice versa with kids. And it feels like there's so much of that emotion wrapped up in every milestone day that I can't help but say, like, yeah, I'm so grateful to have my mom and to have been her child. I'm so honored to be a mom to mine. But there's all these other feelings, and I need people to be aware that they're not alone, you know, in feeling those things.
Yeah. Was that the mixed review?
Well, the mixed review is like, example, you know, you said, I'm trying to think of what you said earlier that reminded me. About what content you put out. Yesterday, for no explicable reason, I woke up, had a beautiful moment with my kids and my husband. And all day, I felt this like depressive weight. And my husband was like, we have a brunch plan. I was like, you know, babe, do you mind if we just laze around? Like, I don't feel like seeing people. I don't feel like talking to people. There's no reason. It just hit me hard. And I think it's those moments that you realize when you post those. I don't know who needs to hear this, is parts of me are trying to find ways to post those days where I'm like, I don't feel good and I don't know why. And you might be the same way, you know, like, so I think the mixed reviews is life is so rarely clear and feelings are so rarely alone with themselves.
Yeah. I was just talking about this with my parents too, because yesterday was my dad's first Mother's Day without his mom. And you forget that for every lovely day, every holiday, to your point, Sarah, like every holiday, someone's having a heavy day. You know, and so I think it is so meaningful when it's acknowledged by someone. And I think it just started happening for Mother's and Father's Day recently, where brands and other folks would sort of let you opt out. Like, do you not want to hear this today?
Well, yeah, because it's also like there are so many people you love. And as those days come around, it's almost really hard to see it as all good the way you did as a child when life starts to present itself. It's funny, my dad, my grandma's been gone for 16 years and my grandpa like 30 some years, but they were at my house for Thanksgiving a couple years ago, and my dad went to say the prayer and his voice cracked, and he doesn't cry. So I could count how many times I've seen him cry. And later I was doing dishes and he was helping me. And I said, you know, Dad, when you said for the family that can't be here, was it about Susan and Kathy? Because those were the siblings that were gone. Or was it your mom and dad? And he could barely answer. And he's like, it was my mom and dad. That all those years later, Thanksgiving is heavy.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's heartbreaking. So if you go down, I'm going too.
Sorry, so I am the most contagious crier,
It
and
really
my
is.
parents just
I'm
left
trying not
town
to
this
look at her.
morning. I know.
I'm
I'm
telling
sorry,
you, me
Gina. I
too.
know. No, my parents watched the twins this weekend, so my husband and I could get away for this little birthday trip, and they drove back to Minnesota this morning, and I cried like a kindergartner
Yeah.
getting
You
on the
every
school
time.
bus.
Every
And
time.
I'm like, I just turned 45 years old. My parents are getting in a car and I'm bawling. And my kids are like, what's wrong? And I'm like, I don't know. I just don't like saying goodbye to my parents.
Yeah.
Rachel, we cry every time we leave each other. And what one of the times that it felt the best is 2 years ago. We're leaving, and two of my kids start crying as hard as I am. And I
Oh.
look, and through the tears as I'm watching, this is like just routine. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter if someone's visiting us. We cry when they leave.
Yep.
We cry when we leave them. All the crying. I go, those two are definitely mine.
Well, I brought up our mutual friend, Danielle Robay. I texted Danielle this morning because she cries when she says goodbye to her parents. So I texted her. I said, I can't stop crying. I figured you'd understand. You cry when you say goodbye to your parents too.
Every time.
Every time. I will say my parents were not crying saying goodbye to me. So take that as you will.
It's different.
I think my parents, it's funny because I remember watching my dad not cry, but we didn't, my mom's family, we didn't know as well. As I said, she had a rough childhood and everything, but my dad's family, that was the grandmas, the aunts and everyone. They were in Pennsylvania, so we'd see them once a year. Every time we drove away, I remember my dad like clenching, and I always thought, it's just, like I hate leaving summer vacation too. Like I never quite grasped until I realized, again, as you become a parent, in fact, I'd say the complexity of the emotional journey when you become a parent, so much of therapy makes sense. So much of life and pain and suffering makes sense. So now I look back through that lens and I think, oh my God, my dad was crying because he was leaving his parents, and it happened. And so now we chase the car. That's this immature thing we do. So no matter who's at the house, in the order of who leaves, we all chase the car. So now the kids will say, can we run after the car? And Mac's like, do we have to do that? I was like, please pipe down. Like,
this is a tradition.
You married in. These are blood relatives.
you Secret Service it. You run after the car.
Yeah.
What a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's so interesting because it's like the common thread here is like, you're never too old to miss your mommy. You're never too old to miss your mommy. Like, I totally get that. Ugh.
Well, and the fact that there's no, like, I remember the first time I realized like I was the adult was 9/11. There was a moment, I was a page, I was in a building, and I remember thinking, I'm waiting. When is the grown up going to come in and just say, don't worry, everything's fine? And no one did. And my parents were far away. And those were some of the first moments I realized, wait, I'm the grown up. I've now settled deeply into that because I'm in that sandwich generation where my parents are older, my kids are younger. So, but the idea that the very portal that provided this world in the most innocent part of your life, the way you saw the world, the way it looked, the protected cocoon and bubble was all provided by people that were making sacrifices and, sheltering you. And then you turn around and you're like, you guys, and they're just like, we loved you no matter what, and it's just hard.
Yeah.
I didn't know we were going to have a little bit of this moment, but I am very glad we did. But Sarah, I feel it acutely too. It's like, I am logically a grown up, but if my parents are around, I'm the daughter.
And also logically.
I mean, biologically, one would say middle age. But like they came in town on Thursday and I was down. I was so sick on Thursday. And so they came in, they did the dishes. They went to Walgreens to get medicine. They picked my daughter up from tennis. They made sure I had food. Like they just parented. They did the laundry. Like they just parented so hard. And I was like, I love getting to be the kid, even though most days I'm the mom.
Yes. And they'll always be that no matter how old they get. What you see through their eyes is the parent you always knew.
Yeah.
So there are times when I say to Max, like my mom, he'll say things like, I wish I could have met her the way you describe her. And I'm like, she hasn't been that for so long. And sometimes he'll make comments, but I'm like, but when I look at her, I see the eyes of the same set of eyes looking out. The one that used to play tennis, the one that ran around, the one that balanced too much. She was like, you can see they're in there. They don't disappear. It's just not as obvious to everyone, you know?
Yes. I remember when I've been with my husband for many years, and we met at summer camp when we were little, but by the time like he was really in my world, my late grandma Millie had dementia, and we went to the nursing home, and I was like, Grandma Millie, like, this is Ruben. He's going to be my husband, like the whole thing. And she wasn't really there, but she took his hands and she goes, oh, what a hunk.
Grandma Millie.
You're like, Grandma Millie's fine, you guys. She clearly can see. We're good.
What a hunk. You never forget that either.
My husband has great hair. I mean, that's kind of his calling card. Yes.
Oh,
Sarah, I'm wondering, do you remember what it was like when your parents dropped you off at college at Smith? Do you remember the experience of that?
4 years later, when I came home, I stopped crying. But homesick I've ever been. Mm-hmm. I'm convinced the umbilical cord was never cut, because when I look back at college, I struggled so severely year after year with homesickness. But I had always thought success was leaving home, because in the Midwest, in, maybe small towns, the stories of people that made it, they left. You don't have a lot of those who stayed. So somewhere subconsciously in my mind, you left for college, even though there were schools everywhere. So I was deep driving that mission. And it took me years after to understand why, because I knew I was homesick then. I knew it was going to be hard. I was homesick the whole time. I kept forcing it, looking back. But I deeply believe, when I analyze it, it was just this idea that if you want to get out, if you want to go do something great, you have to leave. And that was just so hard, because my each sibling at some point was near my parents. So at the time I was in college, my older sister had moved back to near them and was working and moving. Her life was successful, and she was near my parents. My older sister, same thing. And then eventually my brother lived with them for a period. And each time I was so jealous. I was like, why has my life not brought me back? Like, I don't care if it's failure or success. Can I go live at home with my mom?
Yeah.
So that was very hard. It was very hard for me.
But there's something you said that I'm kind of ruminating on, about this idea that to be successful, you have to go launch elsewhere. My dad made up this fake rule when we were kids, that we should all always live within a 30-mile radius. And I was like, I think you would stick me back in the womb if you could. But I was like, I will go away to college. And then, Minneapolis to Chicago is not that far, but I've lived in Chicago 20 plus years, not near my parents as my sister does. Love Chicago. Yes. But where do you think that programming comes from, that to be successful and of the world, you have to go away?
It might have been because both of my parents were away from their parents. Like my mom had, when she went into the military, that was being stationed in different places. And my dad, arguably from birth, they had moved to Iowa right before I was born. So I knew my dad to love his parents deeply and have to live far away, because it was his job that brought him to Iowa. And it was the headquarters for Maytag Appliances. And his first sales territory was right by where I live now. So whenever we passed the hospital, I'm like, guys, guess who we know Aunt Fluffy was born there. Like, my oldest sister was in Jersey. The next sister was born in Louisiana. And then my brother and I were Des Moines. So I'd only known that you carve your life out with your person and the crew you birth, like your crew. And none of my examples were near anyone they loved. So we were always an island. But we have made I think I told Danielle in the interview that my plan going forward is my husband and I, assuming the kids choose us, want the compound lifestyle.
Oh, yeah.
We promise each other every day we are going to love the people our kids pick, that we will be the nurturing type. If for 1 second you're the annoying one, we're each going to slap each other out of it. We're like, we are going to be the people our kids choose. Aww. And we will always choose them. And ever since we met them, I'm like, I'll go wherever they are. It's the only purpose you have, to me, that's the most deep form of purpose I've ever had. So
Gina, make Sarah jealous with where you're living right now.
I am living with my parents right now. It is really lovely. And I'll even Sarah, I'll give you 2 more pieces of information. I'm 40, starting a new business, and pregnant.
Gina,
And
you just said it out loud. You're saying it. Oh, we've been keeping the secret.
I know we haven't keep. And so not only am I like living with my parents, I'm being doted on as a daughter, but I'm also being doted on as like a vessel of this guest.
A geriatric pregnancy. My kids were that little too. They pretend like you're going to die every day.
Yeah. My doctor's so nice about it though. She's like, it's fine. We'll just have some extra appointments and we'll probably want to induce you, but like, it's okay.
My doctors were amazing, but my best friend, we're a month apart, we were both having babies at the same time when we were 40. And she's like, oh my God, Sarah, they practically bring an ambulance every time I walk in there. And this woman was like a D1 athlete, the most healthy pregnancy. You barely saw it. She lived a regular life. And they're like, she's like, they're treating me like I'm barely going to make it to the next appointment. Like, not about the baby surviving, whether I'll survive. Yeah. And I was like, in New York, they're like, kind of young for sure.
Yeah, I know. Thankfully, my doctor's in Chicago, and she's like, "Oh, this is normal."
Totally, they treated me like I was nothing.
Yeah, this is
like
normal.
You got this. Yeah,
this is normal.
But congratulations.
Thanks. And I would say living with my parents part is honestly the biggest joy.
I love that. Yeah. I love that. I am jealous. Thank you, Rachel.
Yeah.
Well, Gina's building a business, so she could live with her husband elsewhere, but they're cohabitating as she builds this business. Yes.
But it's funny. These are the days, like at the end of our lives, you're going to look back, commiserating over it and saying, remember that time we lived with my mom and dad? Those will be the good old days.
I think so too. Yeah, I think so too. We're in it. We're in it right now. Like we have dinner together every night. They're healthy. Like we're never going to get this time back. So why wouldn't we just like embrace it?
Never.
Yeah.
And you're taking a huge risk, which in itself is such a brave move.
My God, you're the best. I just want to talk to you every day.
This is why Sarah is the internet's therapist. I know.
Well, I want to ask you a question about you personally and how you feel most connected. Because you're connecting with other people. You're making them feel so seen. What does it take to make you feel seen and connected to someone else?
You know what? The 2 fastest ways for me to be seen are around my best girlfriends. Like that's probably the most seen I ever am, and my kids. And it's not because the kids necessarily always understand like who I am on a deep level, but in small moments, they feel like appendages. Like, so they're so familiar to me. And I realize a lot of my homesickness in life, like even when I moved companies, I thrive in structure and expectation and order. So change throws me off and I battle it. Like internally, I need to learn how to embrace it more. But the kids are the definition of familiar to me. So wherever they are, wherever I am with them, I feel so okay because they're there. And it's not like I'm not the mom and they're little, but it's something that says there's more of you here. Like we're okay. You know, it's
because they're home. If their kids are there, it's home.
Yes.
Yes. I identify with that.
But my girlfriends, the reason I say that is like, I love my husband, but my husband will never see me the way my girlfriends do. And that's going to make me cry.
I know. Oh, Sarah.
Cry tally.
Yeah. The amount of things that the women in my life have done, and some are regulars and like have been here OGs and will always be here. Others were seasonal people that you felt you knew better than you did, that did things you'll never forget. And you just look and you're like, wait, so I am here. Like you can see me, right? There's a way, because I think when you're depressed or when you're unhappy, you often don't understand what makes you you. And no matter how many times I go through it, it's the same every time. You have this disconnect where you almost don't know who you are. Would someone describe you like on a dating profile? I remember I wrote down like furry Uggs, dirty martinis, chihuahuas. If you start listing words, could you create me? And it's your girlfriends that often say, no, I see you. And they could rattle those things off. And you're like, wait, you do? Like, I love my husband and I've been with him for many years. There are things he can roll his eyes and say, that's so Sarah. But it's something different about the celebration of girlfriends. They celebrate you. They don't tolerate you. They like cheer you on and they're hype people forever. So I always say over and over, it's the girl village that I want my boys. I want boys and guy friends aren't the same, but I want them to deeply understand, all of them, that you don't need partners necessarily. Those are perks and those are lovely, but you need to be okay by yourself and with your villages before you worry about, because no one's going to complete you, you know?
Sarah, I just wanted to say with your girlfriend thing that it feels like the gift of really good friends is that they have a lens of love and they do see
Yes.
you in the most generous light and they sort of can create the contours of you because they witness your life. So I could not agree more. Uh,
Oh, and it's a gift. It is such an, I never knew how much I would need that village to survive life, like just to get through. And so, yes.
yes. Okay, there's something I wanted to bring up forever. This moment you had on TV has lived in my brain rent free when you sat down with Tyler Perry. Do you know where I'm going with this? Okay, so for the listener, there is this incredible moment between Sarah and Tyler Perry. He's on The View. He's promoting a documentary he produced about his mother. Sarah makes the world's most emotionally astute comment and says something along the lines of, "I met your mother in this film." And Tyler Perry is overcome and just becomes a puddle of tears because he feels that so, so viscerally. And to me, that moment shows that your secret magical ability is to find the beating heart of a conversation or a connection. And so I just wanted to say, like, has that always been who you are? Did you really like lean into this as an adult? Something truly transpired right there.
Thank you. That was a very magical moment in it. And I'm so grateful to have had it. That documentary was very powerful. Not hard to find the beating heart there. But I would say I've probably always been this way. I think I connect with people on their life highs and lows. So when I start asking questions, I'm looking for the through line of how we're the same, whether it's the parents or the birth order or where you're from, and my heart seeks it out. It's the familiar. Where's the familiar? What can I get about you as I get to know you? And I think when you go that deep, you're going to hit literal heartbeats and figurative heartbeats. And that's where I connect. That's where I feel. And it's not a conscious thing. And it's not, I don't know how to explain it. It's always been where I feel the best, is finding people in their heartstrings, because that's how I live. It's how I experience the world. It's why I also love movies and plays and things that capture like my whole life. I joke it are movie scenes. Like the amount of times I felt from Dirty Dancing, that moment I carried a watermelon. There's no way to explain it to someone other than to bring up that scene, because we might not be able to explain what I'm going through. But when I say, no, I had like I carried a watermelon moment, you're like, oh, totally get it. Totally get it. I love when documentaries, films, when they are able to tell the story till you feel it in your bones. And those projects aren't every project, but when I get them, I wrap everything around them. And that was one where, knowing how much Tyler Perry, just like we talked about how much we love our parents, and knowing he had lost her, I thanked him for letting me meet her, because that documentary gave us her. And that's where he said that moment mattered, because I don't think he was so close to the material. He didn't understand that to someone else feeling, I now know your mom. You just gave her more life through this project. And so it was a beautiful moment. It was a beautiful documentary. But I hope that answers your question. It's kind of how I connect in the world, is how I feel safe.
Yes.
You're a very natural bridge builder, which is a lovely trait. You're a bridger.
I'm a bridger.
Yeah, bridger, which we need more of those. Well, let's have a connection conversation, Sarah. These questions should be fun, but we never know. We could cry.
Okay. We've already seen that happen, so we're fine.
So first and foremost, Rachel and I would love to know, who's the last connection that you made that really had an impact on you?
Okay, so a week ago, I was at a dinner and I met a woman named Myleek, and I loved her. We were seated next to each other in an intimate dinner conversation, and it was with Dr. Becky, who's all the good side. Yes. And my best friend, my literal best friend in life, had invited me. She's like, we got to go to this. We sit across from each other. And this woman sat next to me. And within a few minutes, we end up also crying, but we were bonding over the complicated relationships we have with moms, our moms. And it became this conversation where I felt in so many few moments as we got to the mom part, we started finishing each other's sentence. I was like, wait, you don't have to explain. No, I get, oh my gosh. And all of a sudden, when we left, I said to her, and here was a dinner full of conversation and amazing people. I looked, I said, I don't think it was a coincidence we sat next to each other. And she was like, me neither. And now we're commenting on our Instagram posts, deep diving to get to know each other. But this was just a phenomenal woman that was placed next to me. And it was a gift.
Oh, I love that. I do believe things tend to happen for a reason. And you probably were supposed to have this conversation and feel this scene.
Yeah, and we come from such different backgrounds. Her whole mission is she's a Black woman who does these Black-centric mom events. It was all about moms. But as we started talking, I realized from the outside, we don't look the same. If you followed our journey and our conversation, we couldn't have looked more alike. And as it unfolded, it just became more like, oh my God, wait, no, me too. Like the whole conversation. And I felt like nothing was solved, nothing was fixed, but there was a salve involved, like a small treatment cream in just the conversation that softened everything. And it just took that, and I've been riding that high for a week now. So.
What a gift.
Yeah.
Our second question is the advice that you would give to your younger self about connecting. And again, I think you had like an Instagram video when it was trending about having coffee with your younger self and what you would tell. So this one feels really salient.
Yeah. So there's so many things I tell my younger self, but keeping it within the view of connection. I would say that don't forget, so many young people are told to connect, to network, and they always look vertically. What they don't think about is the horizontal connections are the ones that will carry you through life. And I bring this up because when I was in the Page program, I'm still close friends with the NBC Pages. Like you come through a cyclical program. When we were always told, I thought, I'm not cut out for this. I'm not good at networking. I'm not a schmoozer. All the words you use for this, I thought, it's just not in my blood. I can't do this stuff. But there was another way to couch all those same terms. Curiosity, listening, organic. You can be the most pure person that doesn't always feel good at a small talk event, that's making connections because they're making them authentically. And they're also making them horizontally. So all those pages now, when I need something done, I need an answer, we've all climbed. And now I go back to those same people. Some of them are like you breaking out with your own business. They're doing bold things. But we all come back to those strong, same-minded people and say, what should I do? How do I get here? And the connection was always authentic because it was a bunch of friends just surviving. But I thought I was failing at connecting and networking because I didn't know how to schmooze. That was never necessary. It could always be organic. It could always be thoughtful. It could always be mindful and deliberate. It's all how you do it. And I think that's what I would tell myself.
I love that.
Yeah, nobody wants to be schmoozed anyway, really deep down.
Well, you can tell a mile away, like when you're getting schmoozed, or even less nefarious is the benign, they reach out to make a connection. We talk or we email. Hey, can you pass my name along for this job? And you're like, I don't know you. Like, that's not, we made a connection, but connections run the spectrum. And I think that you're always better off keeping your head down, if your work is speaking for you, don't interrupt, but look for, in a good way, the people you can connect with who are also feeling out of place and nervous, because all that time I thought I was failing, I was actually succeeding in the long term. I was just looking at it through a narrow lens.
The horizontal connections, that is a great reframe.
Yeah.
Thank you.
They come up with you. They come up with you.
Yes.
Yeah. And they're not always going to be interns or pages.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing, is you forgot. They're going to be tomorrow's leaders.
Exactly.
So they're all your friends.
Yeah. Keep your friends. Well, Sarah, you meet a lot of people, so many people. You sit next to an EGOT every day, but in the world of connections, is there someone who you haven't met yet who would be a dream connection for you?
So I thought about this for a while. I thought about, professionally, the connections I'd love to make are things like my pipe dream that never was to be on Saturday Night Live. And other than being scared of Lorne Michaels as a page, I've never actually connected with Lorne Michaels. I don't believe he's all of a sudden going to give me my audition,
Well,
but some part of me feels it's like that untouched thing I've spoken about for so long. I also love the WNBA. I wish I was more a part of like committees and things. That's professional.
mm-hmm.
Personally, I'm so deeply tied to Buddhism and Buddhist thought that I think some like Pema Chodron, the author, there are people like that I'd love to be in their midst to watch them live their lives and how they apply the lessons they capture in books and podcasts in real time. So those would be the people I'd love to be mingling with more often.
Oh, Sarah, we could truly, I mean, we say this a lot, but we really could spend like a girls' weekend with you.
Yeah. Let's go on a retreat.
Really? Let's visit your parents' house. We can just crash.
Come on.
Get up to New Buffalo. Let's go do it.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh.
Before we go, please let everyone know where to find you.
Well, my main thing is my Instagram, my at Sara Haines. I kind of filter all my content through that and then kind of allocate whatever. But Instagram's my heart place where I put my stuff,
all
my kids, the ugly, the good, the bad, the in between, all the stuff.
We loved having you. This was a delightful hour of our lives. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you, guys. I'm so glad we finally got to do this, Rachel. I mean, you had like 10 connections.
I was so ready. Thank you for making the time. I know you're in high demand, and Gina and I are lifelong fans now.
Oh, you guys are the best. Thank you so much. This was so lovely. It really was such a great time to chit chat, to cry together. It's the South.
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
The balm.
The balm.
The balm.
The balm.
I think we could have kept Sara Haines forever if she would have stayed in our little video chat.
You know how you can have this parasocial relationship on Instagram where you feel like you get to know somebody because they share so beautifully? I feel like we took this huge step where I finally got to actually connect with her as a person, and she was even more amazing than I hoped for. Even better.
Yeah. Well, I also feel like she describes herself as a curious person, which I love when she explained the unlock for her in connection. It isn't about networking. It's about curiosity, which we've heard in a variety of different ways. But every time it is an unlock for each person once you get there. Like, it's not about me expressing to you how powerful I am and how much I can do for you and how much we can do for each other. It is about me caring where you're from, what makes your heart go pitter patter, what you like in your tea, like all of those things that make you human. So I love just hearing that is what she gets to spend her day doing.
Yes. And I know we joke about how I'm an easy crier. You're an easy crier. There were some tears unexpectedly on this episode. But the one thing I really like about it is it's not manufactured. And the fact that Sarah felt so emotionally overcome in talking about her parents and family is an indicator of how genuine she is, because somebody can be a great talker and be very persuasive. And that doesn't mean it's rooted in raw emotion. But when you are overcome with tears, it speaks to the fact that somebody is coming from truly the heart, and that it's an incredibly authentic experience to well up with people, especially when you don't know them. So I just thought she was incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. I honestly, I would like to take a trip with her.
Let's go to Bentonville.
Yeah, let's all go to Bentonville. That's actually perfect.
Yes.
Let's book a flight into the Bentonville Regional Airport, brought to you by Walmart. What a delight. Rachel, should we do show and tell? I actually brought two things today. One of them is a little bit of a surprise for you.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, so first and foremost, I want to bring, it's behind me.
Dun, dun, dun.
Previous guest from our podcast, Morgan Radford, Her book is out. She's been in pre-sales for a while, and if you bought her book Now Then via pre-sales, it has shipped. It's wherever you get your books. She's doing like some wonderful press around it, but it's out. So buy the book now. It is really lovely. I've started it and it's so good.
We are literally brain sharing. I had pre-ordered it for my Kindle and then I downloaded it last night. So it's in my queue.
Here she is. It's
Congrats,
a triumph.
Morgan.
Stacey Abrams says. Yeah. And she's been doing some fun press stuff with Stacey Abrams too. So huge congrats from us, Morgan. We are so excited to read it. And we'll book club it.
Way to go, author.
Yay. We love your words. Are you ready for a left turn? I brought 2 show and tells. The second one is a left turn. Okay. So in the New York Times, there was recently a piece, an advice piece. The headline was, "Your friend married a dud. Double dating can still be fun." And it is an advice piece in the well section of the New York Times about how to double date when you don't necessarily click with your friend's significant other. So I want to ask Rachel, do you have any experience in this department or any advice, or do you want me to dig right into the advice this column's giving us?
Let me gently skirt over the top of this question. I predominantly really like the people my friends have married, but not everybody is the world's best chemistry fit for a double date. So I have just sort of figured out, and maybe people have done this with me too, and Ruben, sometimes it's better for just the original friends to hang out. And sometimes it's great for the couples to go out. But you cannot force fit, nor do I think you should. I want to hear the advice, though. And I want to know what you think.
I completely agree, because I think sometimes the dream of friendship is that all of your friends would marry someone you want to hang out with. But it doesn't matter if they're a match for you. It matters that they're a match and they fit the puzzle pieces of your friend. So at the end of the day, there may be some cases when you have to just bite the bullet and have a dinner with someone who maybe says something awkward, or they don't get your jokes, or and kind of make it work. And so one of the pieces of advice that they gave that I really, really liked was pick the right activity. Sometimes a double date isn't the right fit, or 2 couples coming together on a double date. It isn't the right fit for a dinner. Sometimes it might be a better fit for an activity, like something where you stare straight forward, like bowling. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Bowling. Yes. Or there are bocce leagues now, or there's pickleball. So think about an activity that would allow you to maybe engage with this other couple in a way that plays to their strengths, rather than your weaknesses as a group.
I love that. You know what I just thought of as an example in pop culture?
Give it to me.
I think I told you we've been watching Friends as a family, and it's so fun to revisit the show through my kids' eyes. But they all love Janice as a character, Chandler's ex-girlfriend.
I love Janice.
Yes, and Janice is meant to be irritating. And
the real triumph of the show.
Oh, she's classic. But there's this episode where her and Joey spend an entire day together, and they go
Janice and Joey's Day of Fun.
I cannot believe you remember that. Exactly. And they have the big foam finger. They got to a baseball game. They did everything together. And Janice leaves, and Chandler looks at Joey so hopefully, like maybe now he actually likes Janice. And Joey crumbles, and he's like, I tried, man. I tried. But he said, but the good news is I don't want to kill her. And so I can be around her and be with my friend, whether or not she's my favorite person. I can do this for you. And I think maybe that kind of wraps up this whole thing, is that there may be duds that you inherit through your friends' relationships. But if you can just be around them and make it palatable, that's kind of the win.
Yeah. And I think sometimes there's a place for like the, oh, buddy, where you just give them like accept them for who they are, let them be themselves, and just know that it's not always going to be the perfect fit. One other piece of advice I do want to point out is focusing on your own partner in these situations. So focusing on how you and your partner come together in a situation where you might not like the other partner, expressing maybe in the beginning, like, hey, he tends to bring up controversial topics. Can you be on my team and help me change the subject if that were to happen? So that you have a game plan as a couple going into a situation like this. And then the other piece of advice was also just to remember that you married someone that you really like and focus on that. Go home and think about how great your partner is rather than thinking about what you don't like about your friend's partner.
And nothing makes your partner look better than being next to someone who isn't great for a couple hours.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
By comparison, they look so good. Yes.
So good. Friendship, anything else you want to say about any friendship in the news, Sarah, etc.,
I would just
before
say
we wrap
this
it up?
trip I mentioned to Bentonville was with another couple, and it was the unicorn where everybody's friends with each other and the dynamics work across the board.
The ideal.
And it's the platonic ideal. So not everybody's going to be a matchup. There's a big spectrum from like dud to magnificent. But I think when you do find a couple where everybody vibes really well, hold on to that unicorn and feel really grateful for it.
I love that. Well, this has been another episode of The Connection Code, a podcast about friends, connections, work, and everything in between. And this is a production by Two Connections, Rachel Gilman-Rischel and me, Gina Anderson-Cohen. You can follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn, wherever you do social media, using our full names. We would love to hear from you. Thank you to Stephanie Russo, who sent a message to Rachel and me this week. You truly did make our days, weeks, and months. Thank you to Sara Haines for being here on the podcast today. Thanks to Ben Cleaver for editing this podcast. And if you like this show as much as we like doing it, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and maybe leave us a rating or a review. We would really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hi, I'm Shira.